Hey everyone, it is time for another 5-Minute Friday. I love these segments because they're short, easily digestible, inspirational, and practical pieces of advice are given in every episode, and you can start applying them to building your vision process immediately. So, today we are talking about applying as you learn. Now, the topic is pretty self-explanatory. We're going to be talking about how to learn and apply what you learned simultaneously, and also the importance of doing this. So I see so many entrepreneurs, so many creatives who are learning, absorbing, going on YouTube, reading blog posts, reading books, and they're absorbing all this information, but they're just hoarding it, waiting to use it when everything is right and the time is perfect. Some people use excuses like, oh, I'm going to wait till I finish school first, or I still feel like I don't know enough yet. Or they might say, I'm not an expert yet, so who's going to listen to me? Do you really think somebody who became an expert waited until they knew everything to start selling themselves as an expert? Of course not. These people became experts because they were applying as they were learning. You don't have to know everything to start doing something. Progress is better than perfection. So whatever the vision is, whatever business you're trying to start, whatever that goal is that you're trying to achieve, start now. Start applying as you learn. You may make some mistakes along the way. You may fail sometimes, but you'll learn from those mistakes and be able to build upon it. I'll provide you guys with 3 reasons right now why it is so important to apply as you learn. So, number 1, you'll learn faster because you're applying as you learn. When you actually apply the skills you've learned, you're using multiple levels of your brain, which solidifies the information even quicker in your mind. So imagine this. Imagine you're in a chemistry class and you're sitting in the class and the teacher is just lecturing you about the periodic table. Now imagine yourself in a different chemistry class with the teacher who has you doing experiments with each element on the periodic table. Things are exploding, things are melting, things are reacting, and you're watching all the chemicals behave and react in different ways right in front of your eyes. Now, in which class are you going to remember the elements of the periodic table even easier? Of course, the one where you're watching them react to each other, because that's a tactile application of what you're learning. So, number 2, knowing how and being able to perform are 2 completely different things. I remember a few years back, I bought a stick shift car, and I've talked about this story maybe like on the first or second episode of this podcast, which is, if you want to go listen to it, you could go listen to it. It doesn't sound that great, but it's there. And I bought this stick shift car, not ever driving a stick shift car before. I knew how to drive a stick shift car because my dad had taught me how, conceptually, but I had never really done it in person, driving the car. So when I bought this car, I said, well, I know how to drive a stick shift. I know how to, go into the different gears, use the clutch and all that stuff. So I should be good. Oh my, was I wrong. Man, that week I got that car was probably one of the worst, most embarrassing weeks of my life. I was stalling in the middle of the street, getting stuck in parking lots, clunking out at lights. It was terrible. I knew how to drive the car. Theoretically, I knew all the information that you need to know how to drive it, but I wasn't able to put any of that knowledge into action until I was applying it as I learned how to do it. Applying it using really just failing over and over and over again and figuring it out. And that's the exact same thing you have to do. You have to be able to perform the things in order to make yourself marketable. So speaking of marketability, you have to be able to market yourself as an entrepreneur or a creative. And that leads perfectly into number 3 reasons why you need to apply as you learn. Is that's because people want to see results. Bottom line, no one wants to hire, network with, or collab with someone who shows no results. We want to see what you can do not what you so-called know. So why do you think so many employers are looking for experience along with or over degrees these days? They want to see that you can produce results. The bottom line is applying as you learn will help you leaps and bounds throughout your entrepreneurial and creative journey. So stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect resources, the perfect scenario, because it's never going to be perfect. And that means you will never really maximize your potential. Start now. Progress is better than perfection. Progress is always better than perfection. You can even show me, in fact, how you're starting by tagging me on Instagram. Put me on your story. Tag either at the Music Report Podcast or my personal page at CLEE.Davis on Instagram, and show me that YouTube channel you're starting. Show me that podcast you're starting. Show me the website that you're building. Show me the email client list that you have built. Show me the progress. That's what it's all about. And this is actually going to be the basis of where this podcast is headed. And you're hearing it here first from me. A lot of changes are about to start happening on the Music Report Podcast because I also am applying as I'm learning. I'm learning just like you are. And that's really about to be the foundation of where this show is going. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoy that rebranding process and I don't lose a whole bunch of listeners. But thanks, guys, for tuning into this 5-Minute Friday. I hope you learned something and you're going to start applying it right now. Next week on Tuesday, as always, I do my interview episodes. So I sit down with Tim Salau, actually a career expert who has worked at Google, Facebook, Microsoft, who is killing the game right now, especially on LinkedIn. So you don't want to miss that episode for sure. I will talk to you next week on Tuesday. Until then, peace, y'all.
Hey guys, Clee here. Thanks so much for listening to the Build Your Vision podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would think you did if you stayed all the way to the end. The best thing that you could do to help support this show is by sharing it with somebody. By you just taking a few seconds to recommend this show to somebody, you are making a huge impact, not only on the success of this show, but possibly on that person's life.